So when you hear the phrase the seventh trumpet from the book of Revelation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's probably images of cataclysmic doom, right? Judgment, chaos, the whole shebang. But what if that popular understanding has missed the point entirely? What if that final trumpet blast isn't what we've been taught to expect at all? Let's dig in.
And that really is the heart of what we're exploring here. What if the seventh trumpet, that event often called the third woe, isn't about terror for believers? Not at all. What if it's actually the announcement of an incredible, universe-altering triumph?
So here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the shocking announcement from heaven itself, and then we'll see why it's a message of triumph, not terror. We'll unpack the pattern of the three woes and the really cool mystery of the unfinished final woe. Then we get to the climax, a complete reversal of who is actually taken away at the end. And that leads to this powerful story of inheritance, not escape. All right, let's jump right to the source. The very moment the seventh angel sounds that trumpet, the reaction in heaven is probably not what you'd expect. Okay, first thing to notice, where does this declaration come from? Great voices in heaven. This isn't a scream of terror coming from earth. It's a thunderous, celebratory proclamation of victory coming from the heavens. This one verse, right here, is the key to reframing our entire understanding of this event.
So let's break down what those voices are actually proclaiming. Because this isn't a warning about something that's about to happen. It's an announcement of something that has already been accomplished.
You know, the grammar here is absolutely crucial. Are become. That phrase signifies a completed event. It's past tense. The transfer of power is a done deal. All the authority that Satan sneakily offered Jesus in the wilderness has now been rightfully won back, not through some backroom deal, but through the ultimate act of obedience on the cross. The transaction is finished.
And then you get this next part, he shall reign forever and ever, which just cements the finality of it all. It tells us the cross wasn't just a backup plan, it was the victory. It conquered death itself and established a reign that is undisputed, permanent, and totally eternal. So those loud voices in heaven, they're basically shouting a cosmic, "It is finished," to the work of Jesus.
Now, to really get why this trumpet blast is such a big deal, we need to zoom out a little bit and see it in its proper context. It's the grand finale of a pattern known as the three woes.
So check out how this all builds up. The first woe is all about exposing sin, which leads to cleansing. Then the second woe is about shaking up the corrupt earthly powers, which leads to a separation from those systems. But the third woe, it's not another disaster, it's the declaration of the kingdom. For believers, this isn't a woe at all, it's consummation. It's the final, glorious union with Christ. You could say that what the world sees as a woe, the bride sees as a wedding.
Okay, but here's where things get really interesting. The way the Bible's author John talks about this third woe is totally different from how he talks about the first two.
I mean, this is a tiny detail, but it's huge. In the book of Revelation, John explicitly says the first woe is past, and then later, the second woe is past. But he never does that for the third woe. It gets announced with that seventh trumpet, and then the story just keeps going. This deliberate silence suggests the third woe isn't one single catastrophic event. It's the story that is still unfolding.
In fact, you could argue that the rest of the book of Revelation is the unfolding of this so-called woe. It includes the epic spiritual conflict, the fall of corrupt world systems, the amazing celebration of the marriage supper of the Lamb, and finally, the reveal of the New Jerusalem. It's the ongoing story of Christ's kingdom being fully revealed on earth.
Okay, so if the final woe is actually this epic story of Christ's kingdom coming in full, that brings up a massive game-changing question. It directly challenges a very popular idea, the one most of us have heard about, a rapture, by asking a simple question. In this final chapter, who is it that actually gets taken away?
And here's the crucial contrast. The popular view, a lot of us have heard, teaches that the righteous are taken away from the earth, to escape all the bad stuff. But what if the consistent scriptural pattern is the complete opposite? What if the wicked are the ones who are removed, so that the righteous can remain and inherit the earth? It's a total reversal of what we might expect.
And the evidence for this reversal starts way back in the Psalms. I mean, it doesn't get much more direct than this. Who is cut off? The evildoers. And who gets to stay? Those who shall inherit the earth. It's a super clear distinction. And then you have Jesus himself using this exact same pattern. Think about it. When he talks about the days of Noah, who was taken away by the flood? It was the wicked. Noah and his family, the righteous ones, they remained.
And Jesus says his coming will be just like that. Wow. That flips the common interpretation of this verse completely on its head. And this verse right here, it kind of gives us the why behind it all. The great shaking at the end of the age isn't about believers escaping. It's about purification. It's the process of removing everything that's temporary, false, and corrupt so that only the things that are eternal, the unshakable kingdom and its people, can remain. All right, so let's pull all this together. What does it all mean when you look at it this way? Well, it means the ultimate goal isn't escape, it's inheritance.
You know, when you line it all up, the pattern is it's undeniable, from the Psalms to Jesus' most famous sermon to a prayer he actually prayed for his followers, and even his analogy of Noah's day. The theme is remarkably consistent. The wicked are removed and the righteous remain to inherit. The goal was never about getting believers out of the world, but about establishing Christ's kingdom in the world.
And that is the heart of it all. The sound of that seventh trumpet isn't a signal to evacuate. It's a victory cry announcing that the rightful king has taken his throne, and his people aren't fleeing from a disaster. They're standing firm to inherit the renewed creation.
So that leaves us with this one big final question to chew on. What if our entire posture towards the future is meant to be one not of escape, but of hopeful, active inheritance? What if we're not waiting for an exit sign, but for a world made new, right here, as his kingdom is fully and finally revealed? That's a thought that changes everything.